This oasis of quiet, of contemplation, of scholarly research and study is the library of the United States Air Force Academy. It is a 600,000 volume repository of the literature of academic subjects with a particular attention to sciences, history, military topics, and aeronautics. It provides a vital intellectual support and stimulus to the educational mission of the Academy, which is to provide instruction and experience to all cadets so that they graduate with the knowledge and character essential to leadership and the motivation to become career officers in the United States Air Force. The spectacular spiral stairway to the library's upper levels leads cadets past a constant reminder of their military heritage, a collection of 32 of the principal long arms carried by the American soldier since 1776. And here is more heritage, the heritage of man's dream of flight, recorded back through the centuries. This is the Colonel Richard Gimbel Aeronautics History Collection, which is housed in an especially equipped room on the 6th floor of the Academy Library. This historical collection, donated by Colonel Richard Gimbel of the department store family, is a great deal more than a curiosity shop. Here, Gimbel will tell it to Macy or anyone else with a serious research purpose concerning the beginnings of man's dream of flight. There are holdings here dating from the 15th century for the research scholar.
Letter from George Washington to Louis de Bec du Portail, Mount Vernon, April 4th, 1784. I have only newspaper accounts of the air balloons, to which I do not know what credence to give, as the tales related of them are marvelous, and lead us to expect that our friends at Paris, in a little time, will come flying through the air instead of plowing the ocean to get to America.
The collection is also a working educational tool where cadets can gain hands-on experience to learn and apply the techniques of archival research.
Letter written during the Siege of Paris, 1870. Paris, samedi, le 19 novembre, 1870. Chère Maria. Paris, Saturday, November 19th, 1870. Dear Maria, it is now exactly 2 months since Paris, this grand Paris, has been under siege. But thanks to the balloons and the pigeons, we have been able to write abroad with news of France and its trials.
These are the archives, the institutional memory of the Academy. Here, precedents, lessons, and experiences of the past are preserved to record the Academy's history and spare succeeding generations of Academy officials the necessity of reinventing the wheel. In addition to the documents serving the Academy's administrative needs, the archives house a growing volume of special collections of educational as well as historical value, spanning the history of military aeronautics from 1907 to the present. As part of the academic program, cadets are instructed in archival concepts and may use archival materials in research. For their own research projects, here cadets can write from original source materials and need not depend on interpretations found within published histories. Representative of the 500-plus historical collections in this section are the comprehensive records of Stalag Luft III, a German prisoner of war camp where thousands of Allied officer airmen were held during World War II, and locale of the book and film, The Great Escape. The collective experiences of airmen who coped, survived, and carried out military missions under unusual circumstances in a long-ago war, all are grist for the mill of the current military student. There are lessons to be learned here about the role of discipline in performance, of morale in coping, of leadership in survival. Here are numerous records of escape techniques and countermeasures, of the workings of the Geneva Convention, of basic day-to-day living in the barbed wire environment. Among the records are some from Henry Soderberg, the Swedish national and neutral observer of Allied POW camps in Nazi Germany for the International YMCA. He is shown here with the senior American officer of South Camp, Colonel Charles Goodrich, and interrogating a prisoner. Mr. Soderberg's observation of the American performance.
I saw many camps while I worked in Germany during the war. And one of the very best camps was Stalag Luft 3. There was various reasons for this. I think it was in the first place the leadership, also the homogeneous nationality. There was a very strong feeling of true and good Americanism. There was the will to overcome the difficulties and to survive. It was always there, together with the ingenuity of the men. There was also a high degree of comradeship and of friendship between the prisoners, even if crowded conditions and the monotonous life sometimes created strains in personal relationships.
Memoirs of the German Commandant, Stalag Luft 3.
We soon discovered that to house the intrepid young airmen of the Allied powers at Sagan, a more unsuitable location could not have been found. The camp was located about 3/4 of a mile south of the Sagan train station, which saw hundreds of trains daily going to all directions of the compass. The camp was bordered on the east, south, and southwest by extensive forests. The ground was excellently suited for underground tunneling. In the course of time, the POWs reached a mastery of tunneling which was unexcelled. The flyers were all between 21 and 30 years old. Only a few staff members were a little bit older. As flyers, they had been trained well, physically as well as mentally.
Notice from Lieutenant Colonel A.P. Clark to all POWs, Sagan, Germany, South Compound, concerning escape policy, January 1944.
The aims of our escape policies are to assist the war effort by getting prisoners of war home, by forcing Germans to maintain large local garrisons, and by involving German personnel communications and transportation facilities in the recapture of escaped prisoners of war.
An escape of more than 4 men was considered a mass escape and resulted in a countrywide alarm of all police stations and other units involved in camp security. At least 42 telegrams, aside from the telephone notifications, had to be sent to all departments involved in security within Germany and corresponding units involved in border guarding.
June 1979. Oral history interview with Lieutenant General A.P. Clark.
We made German uniforms, and we had a guy who spoke fluent German and looked like one of the guards who was constantly coming into our camp on errands. One time when he was in, we distracted him somewhere and sent our guy out with correct papers and forged gate pass. He walked right through the gates. One other time, we sent 2 guys out as guards with wooden guns. They were caught only because their greatcoats were too short. The Germans were so amused that they took a photo of them with 2 real guards.
It happened one day to the well-known tracker Unteroffizier Pilz that he met himself in the German compound. He stopped short, thought he saw his mirror image walking toward him, arrested the individual, and had captured a POW in disguise. One other time, Unteroffizier Hohendahl arrived at the main gate in the German compound after having passed the 2 gates of the east compound to leave the camp area. When he presented his ID card, the guard on duty was perplexed, since Unteroffizier Hohendahl had already left the camp 10 minutes earlier. The only difference was that the first Hohendahl had worn dark pants, while the one at the gate was wearing light pants. His suspicions having been aroused, he examined the latter Hohendahl closer and discovered a POW. He looked quite like the real Hohendahl.
For one or two guys to get out, it took 15, 20, or 30 behind the lines to make clothes for them, to make compasses, forge passes, and all that kind of stuff. It was a very elaborate, difficult job to protect it against the Germans, who knew we were trying to do these things and were determined to prevent it. They were pretty efficient at it, so we had to go to great lengths to do a little bit. At one time, I figured we got over 350 people clear of the camp. I mean outside the wire, and about 8 got home.
The increased perfection of escape preparation resulted in an increase of the countermeasures of the German personnel. At least in this area, Stalag Luft 3 became a model POW camp. New personnel to be used in the POW system came here for training. The escape material, which had either been found or confiscated, filled 2 huge barracks after only 2 years and was known as the Escape Museum. It served as training aid for personnel tasked to duty in other camps, as well as for the local criminal police.
Berlin, Germany, April 1984. Oral history interview with Lieutenant General A.P. Clark and former Oberfeldwebel Hermann Glimnitz, touching on the Great Escape.
So you suspected we had a tunnel going at that spot?
Ja.
But you couldn't find where it started?
Nein. We knew it was in Block 104, but you Kriegies wouldn't tell us where it was. We couldn't even find it 2 days after the escape.
Wasn't it Charlie who you sent to come through from the outside to find the entrance?
Ja. I was in the room at the time. We could hear him knocking, but we still couldn't find it.
Charlie should have been given the Knight's Cross for that.
I finally said to the prisoners, "Look here, he may be in danger. No air. Open it up." So they did. The entrance was a work of genius, no doubt about it. The big tunnel was very clever and all that. But you let too many men out. Maybe you could get away with 5 men, and then a month later, another 5 men. But 78 men, when all Germany was alerted at the same moment, not possible to get away with it.
I understand it went all the way to Hitler.
I thought when I heard of it, these men are in bad trouble. In 1941, perhaps, but not in 44, when Germany was down.
The poor Luftwaffe personnel of the camp were mortified. They were as shocked as we were when they had to come in and tell us that 50 of our comrades had been shot in cold blood by the Gestapo.
A final appraisal of the Stalag Luft 3 experience by neutral observer Henry Soderberg.
What did I learn most from meeting these American prisoners of war? I think it was the remarkable ability of civilized and well-educated men to survive. Their firm determination to get over the difficulties in order to reach freedom and liberation, even in the deepest pitch of darkness, and even with humor.
There is history on this table and in these archives, knowledge and experience dearly bought and still of use because they are here and available to another generation and those who will follow in their pursuit of excellence.